Welcome everyone to the Gary Sir Law and Life program. As we keep listening to Gary Sir sharing his life experiences, we realize he really has a wealth of experience. Not only did he work at the immigration department and as a police officer in Hong Kong, but he was also with the RCMP in Canada. After retiring, Gary Sir didn't just take it easy. In 2021, he joined our BC province's automotive sector Insurance Corporation, which we call ICBC in English, where he worked as a driving examiner. Now, this role as a driving examiner is extremely important because it ensures that everyone who comes to get a driver's license can drive legally, properly, and safely on the road. Of course, there are also many new immigrants who have told me, wow, taking the driving test in BC? It's so stressful it can make you depressed. I've heard this from a lot of people, so. But actually, Gary Sir, I want to ask, is it really that difficult?
Whether it's difficult or not really depends on whether you've prepared yourself, how well you're ready, and your mindset.
And a lot of people from mainland China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan have already been experienced drivers for years, but when they come to Canada, the first challenge they face isn't finding a job, it's taking the driving test. Yeah, and for newbies, it's actually a bit more fun, they take the test nervously. But those experienced drivers, on the other hand, end up failing the test many times. So I'd like to hear from you, Gary Sir, from an industry insider's perspective, how can we make it so that taking the driving license test isn't so difficult? I mean, as long as you know English or Chinese, that part's fine. But the main thing is the road test. How can we make it a bit easier and less stressful for everyone when taking the road test?
Actually, when it comes to the road test, there are basically two types of candidates, I've noticed. One type is newbies just following tips for the test.
You mean newbies, right?
I get it now. Their pass rate is actually quite good because beginners just learn the basics and it works. But as you said, even drivers with 10 or 20 years experience can fail. It's not that they can't drive or are bad at it, it's just that rules back home differ from Canada's. So it's not about who's better, but simply adapting to local customs. A Canadian license might not work in some Asian countries, and vice versa. It's not about skill, it's just due to different requirements. Through this broadcast, I hope to share this message to help you and your family pass the driving test successfully. Actually, taking the driving test is really important, and first of all, it's about your mindset, self-confidence. This so-called mindset is actually easy to change, it's not that hard. Don't keep telling yourself, I can't do it, I can't do it. You have to tell yourself, I can do it, I can do it.
A good mental attitude is key.
That's right.
Very important.
Self-confidence doesn't just come from telling yourself you have it, it's based on how much you've prepared. The more prepared you are, the more confident you'll be.
It's like we don't fight battles we're not sure about. Same as when you go for the driving test. You really have to make sure you're well prepared yourself.
Yeah, so that's why you really have to look at your own situation. Some people might need a long time to learn, some just a short while. But the most important thing is to know your own situation. Another thing is, people get really nervous. Why do they get nervous? It's because once they get in the car and see the examiner, they get scared and suddenly forget everything they've learned.
Of course, because a lot of people feel a lot of pressure. If they fail the test, their license validity will expire, and then they can't drive. For example, some adults, like parents, if they can't drive, they can't take their kids to school, can't go grocery shopping, and so on. In Canada, if you don't have a car, it's actually quite a challenge. So naturally, the psychological pressure is huge. Yeah, but honestly, I feel like the examiners aren't really that fierce or scary. Nowadays, they're actually quite nice, just look at me and you'll know. But the main issue is that they're putting a lot of pressure on themselves, like thinking, well, if I fail, I'll have to wait so long to retake it.
Up to you. If you fail first, wait a fortnight.
Yeah, exactly.
Second fail 30 days, third fail 60 days.
Your yellow slip will expire then. After that, you can't drive, so people get really stressed.
Let me talk about the preparations before the exam day. First of all, you should try to build up your confidence as much as you can. Secondly, the day before the exam, it's most important to get as much rest as possible. On the exam day, make sure you're not late, because if you're late, you'll get really nervous and lose your composure.
And if you're late, it's like a domino effect. Once something goes wrong, everything goes wrong.
The examiner has already booked you in. If you're late, it delays their next one too, which isn't ideal.
That's right.
All right then. Now, the most important thing is, when you get in the car, a lot of people aren't clear about where exactly most people are supposed to sit.
That's a big problem if you go for the test and don't even know where you're supposed to sit.
Are there any actions that you did or didn't do which caused you to lose a lot of marks and fail?
Listen up, this is important. It's basically free money.
The first thing I know is that Hong Kong is Taiwan, China is good, China, Hong Kong and Taiwan are good, and there are many times when there are no cars. Of course, they all check this kind of thing.
Maine.
They value efficiency.
From show to check, I studied in Canada first.
Shoulder check, like this. When driving, many just do a quick glance, thinking as long as they show it, it's checked.
But actually, we just need to glance at the rearview mirror, just a quick look.
Because if you do it like this, try it, actually you're looking at a 45-degree angle, you're looking at the side mirror, right? But you can't see the blind spot on this side, right? So, what do we, as ICD examiners, require people to do to make sure? It's like this. You have to turn 90 degrees like this. Then you can cover the blind spot here and avoid hitting people or bicycles and so on.
I remember when I took my driving test 20 years ago, the instructor told us to turn the steering wheel a lot, so that the examiner could really feel how much you were moving it. Only then would it be okay.
That's right, because from the examiner's point of view, at that moment, they need to know whether you're a safe driver. That's what they need, and whether you can do it or not. So you must make big, clear movements, only then can you prove that you can do it, right? Another common mistake a lot of people make, in English it's called 360, 360. When you're reversing, before the car even moves, you have to do it like this. Why? Because if you don't do a 360 before reversing, there might be bicycles or pedestrians behind you, and you could hit them. So you must do a full 360 check first.
You have to look all around, a full 360 degrees, to make sure it's completely safe before you start moving the car. That's how it should be done, right?
That's right. Another common mistake people make is when they're turning. It's what we call in English too wide, they turn too wide.
Okay.
Some people even cut the corner directly, and that's also a point deduction.
Okay, got it.
So you really need to pay attention to these things, like shoulder check, 360 check, and too wide, all those are not acceptable. Also, in France, a lot of times when turning left.
The left turn is basically what we call a deadly move. This is really dangerous.
At the beginning, I mentioned it's a confidence issue. Actually, a lot of times, candidates clearly see there are no cars on the left or right, but they still don't turn, they're too scared to turn. Then when the cars are almost here, they suddenly turn. This is a mistake in judgment on their part. And also a lack of observation skills. This confidence issue comes from not having enough practice opportunities, so you really need to be extra careful about this.
Yeah, and also, from my own experience, when it comes to getting a driving license in Canada, they're not really testing your driving skills, they're testing your safety awareness. You might not park perfectly, or your maneuvering might not be that smooth, but that's not as important as. Safety awareness is the most important thing, because if your driving skills are just so-so, it's not going to kill anyone. But if you lack safety awareness, you could easily become a danger on the road, like a road menace.
Oh, and another thing that a lot of people overlook is what's called scanning. Remember, when you see a green light, if you're the first car at the light, before you start driving, you still need to scan. That means looking to the left and right. Why? Because don't forget, even though it's a green light.
Any pedestrians there?
Yeah, people on the left and right might run the red light, so if you're the first car, you must scan and make sure there are no cars before you go. But for the second or third car, do you still need to? Not really, because the first car has already moved. It's a simple thing, but if you don't do it 3 times or more, you might already fail. Think about it. A lot of times you're the first car in line, or when you're doing the Sure check, turning left or right, if you don't show that you've checked, and you sit in 3 or more positions, you might get marked once. So you have to be careful. Exactly, so these mistakes are absolutely not allowed. Another thing many people get confused about is running a yellow light. What does that mean? Actually, people often misunderstand yellow lights. A yellow light means stop. But when can't you stop? It's when you're going too fast to stop safely in time. Then you can go through. If not, if you haven't crossed the stop line before the yellow light, you should stop. But of course, if you're driving at a safe speed and not going too fast, you should stop. Otherwise, you can keep going, or if you're already in the intersection, you can just go ahead and cross. That's basically how it is.
Yeah, because a lot of people who've lived in Canada for a long time, especially drivers, these traffic rules. Don't you ever run into them? If you get into a car accident, it all comes down to whether you know the traffic rules. If you're familiar with them, you won't make mistakes. Even if there's an accident, ICBC will still compensate you. But if you're not familiar with the rules, sometimes even if you have insurance, you might have to bear the responsibility yourself.
Yeah, and let me give everyone a big tip here. This is a technique. Why are there some people who just don't dare to turn left? It's because they're afraid cars from the opposite side will come. Why are they scared? They always feel like they can't see clearly. Actually, remember this, everyone, when you're holding the steering wheel with both hands, you can actually do this. Check for cars first. If it's clear, go. If not, wait. Don't just block the junction like that.
You have to react to the situation.
Yeah, and some people stop at the intersection getting ready to turn left. Remember, I'm not telling you to move your car forward too early or too late. The problem is, if you block others, people can't see, and
they can't see you, and you can't see them either.
Exactly. Your car doesn't need to move that far forward, but you can lean forward yourself to check the left and right sides. If you're scared you can't see, don't move your car way out. If a car comes from the left, you can't back up because your car's nose is sticking out. Your car doesn't need to stick out, you should just lean out a bit instead. Once you get this, it's much safer.
That's really great. I realize that Gary Sir's sharing today has made a lot of people, whether you haven't taken your driving test yet, already have a license, or have been driving for over 10 or 20 years, suddenly see things clearly. Hey, don't just think those are minor details, because often those details are closely related to our safety, our personal safety and driving safety. It's all closely related, yeah, so thank you for your sharing, no kidding.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.